Hey man, happy to see you again.
Yeah, happy to see you too, Anton.
I think a lot of people will be interested in your story.
Yeah.
Shall we start?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to know, how did you join Google and what qualities help you to succeed?
I think that's a great question. It's a very interesting story where I didn't choose to come to Google. It's kind of like a opportunity that I got along the way. It's a bit personal as well, where initially I was working at a different company where I was working as a AE or an account executive. It was basically a new business sales role. It was still within the MarTech or within the marketing technology field. But I had this existential midlife crisis, or not midlife, it's like a quarter life crisis, right? So I think a lot of people go through that where they're doing a certain career, they're doing a certain job, and then they get to a point where you're like, what am I doing? Like, is this aligned to the future? And working in tech and the all of the adversities that working in tech bring, like obviously we've all heard about the redundancies and things like that. I got to a point for me where I was questioning, is it worthwhile doing this job or working for someone else in this economy? So I actually decided to start my own business in a completely different field compared to what I was working on. So I was quite immature and a bit premature in terms of starting that business up. But it reached to a point where my family was a bit concerned about the cash flow because I was burning cash on that business, but not bringing in any. So they kind of pushed me to look for jobs and go back into the sort of the career ladder. And whilst applying for different jobs, I saw Google was hiring, so I did put my application forward. Things went well, and they were able to accept me into that role. It's very funny because when I got the email from the recruiter, I already had another offer from a different company, and I can see that company's building from here. So it's quite funny every time I sort of come to the office and I see that other company as well. So there was a bit of a what should I do now kind of situation at that time. But to answer your second question about the skills, I think in Google, it's a very interesting space where they don't just look at the traditional skills for someone in an account management role. They look at other skills. And I think it aligns to my experience as well, where I was trying to set up my own business, where I had to be entrepreneurial. And that was one of the things that they look for, where individuals will be able to take accountability and they'll be able to take ownership in terms of whatever that they're doing, whether that be their day-to-day roles or whether that also be additional project where they're going above and beyond in those roles itself as well.
But what about team? Can you share maybe some approaches which you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of like the team, the company itself is quite varied in terms of the different companies, like the different products that we have. But I specifically work within the advertising division. So I work with advertisers, particularly within e-commerce, who want to basically showcase their products across the Google network. We're talking about the search console when you're Google searching something and you've got the sponsored ad coming up. But I also work across the YouTube space where if they've got really good videos or good video advertising, we'll be promoting their business across YouTube as well. So we do have quite a lot of teams that are associated with these kind of inventories. For example, I work really closely with a technical team who we call a PSA team or product specialist team, where if any of my advertisers or any of my clients are having issues in showcasing these ads or they're not getting a good return, this is the first team that I reach out to. We also have a separate team where they focus especially on high growth accounts. So if you're a business that is doing really well and within the e-commerce space, you could have a product that is scaling like crazy, or within even the general business environment as well. You've got a really good product. There's a lot of demand towards it. You need additional support. You need additional strategies to really scale your brand and scale your product across our inventories. The growth team is specialized towards that. So it's also in this role, you're also kind of reaching out to and working together with these teams. But it could be a different scenario where, for example, billing might be an issue. So you work really close with the finance and the billing team in terms of making sure that everything is okay on the non-fun side, like the admin side of things, so that they've got the foundations to start scaling, or they've got the foundations to be successful within Google Ads.
Do you have any skills which you realize, okay, I have to develop them more to be more successful in my role and maybe in the future?
I think as the world is getting more and more privy to AI. I think we're utilizing AI at an exponential rate these days. Like I don't write emails by myself these days. I Gemini a prompt to write down my emails. So I think just understanding how AI works across all of our day-to-day activities and how we can really leverage it is one of the key important thing for me specifically to this role. I think there's a lot of AI products built into Google Ads. So really understanding how those products work technically in terms of what the technology is and how can we really utilize that technology well is the biggest gap that I've seen. I don't come from a technical background. I come from like a business background, right? Just like maths, business, finance, and things like that. So I don't really have a lot of knowledge around computer science. So that's something that I'd love to get an understanding of. And I feel like I don't have to go super technical or super in-depth, but if I can understand the theories or the systems in a way that I can educate my advertisers, but also in a way that I can educate myself to get better results from advertisers. I think that's the biggest gap that I identified in terms of this role and in general as well.
Speaking about not technical things, but how you're dealing with your clients or with your teammates, so which really help you to succeed?
I think one thing that I usually get bogged down is going too much into the weeds or too much into the details. But sometimes I feel like we do need to keep it concise, we keep it quite short. I think this is one of the things that I've learned about this industry is that it's a very fast-moving industry compared to enterprise tech, which is somewhat of a slower-moving industry where you need a longer period of time, more in-depth explanations. In this space, being able to move quickly could mean a huge difference in terms of the returns that they could get. And sometimes you need to be able to drive your communication or drive your points in a very concise way where you can speed up that process as well. So for example, if there's a change in our systems within advertising or within the Google Ads, if I can communicate that to a C-level exec in a simple way and get their buy-in, that could mean that they could unlock an additional $1 million in the next 2 months. So if I take longer to do that, the longer I wait, the more revenue that they miss out on. And in turn, more revenue that Google will miss out on.
That's absolutely fair. I agree with that. That's the skills is really important, especially how fast everything is moving. What's your dream?
I think that's a great question. It's quite deep as well in terms of my dream. But I think to put it simply, my dream would relate to freedom. Right. I think freedom can mean a lot of different things, but I think it's deeply rooted towards the experiences I've had since I was a small kid. So originally I'm from Nepal. I grew up in Nepal. All my family's in Nepal. I migrated to Australia in 2017, so it's been about 9 years or so. In Nepal, we had humble beginnings. It's a third world country, so I also did see a lot of people who didn't have a lot as part of that third world country, whilst I was still privileged compared to some of the other people around me. But because of those humble beginnings, it does give me a bit of sense that the things that my parents did or my relatives did in order to get to that space. So coming here as an immigrant, you kind of start from zero. You get a lot of instability around you, and Anton, you know this as well. you're aiming to go towards the right, but then you have to take a U-turn and go somewhere else all the way backwards and then take a left.
Absolutely
right? So it creates a lot of instability in our lives. Like you're expecting to get one thing done, but then something else happens. And then I realized that that happens to us because it could be a lack of security, it could be a lack of financial position, it could be a lack of skills, or it could be a lack of network as well. So I think my dream would be to reach a point where there's stability. If you predict that, B, C, D, and E is going to happen next, we can at least get to B and C. It doesn't necessarily have to be D, but we can at least get to B and C. Because at the moment, we're trying to get to B and C, but then we have to jump to an F. And then come back to a B because we need to do the B again. So my dream would be to be able to get that stability, obviously have that financial security as well, where I don't have to work 12-hour days or 15-hour days or like chase someone else in order to achieve certain things. But I think I do want to set up my own business as well. And I do see that historically people who have been able to do that do have that freedom and do have that stability with them. There's obviously a period of massive instability that comes with it, but I think my philosophy, I'd rather do it now when you're young and you can take risk, rather than do it when you're older, where you can spend more time with your kids and things like that. So get all the hard stuff done now, struggle now, so that you can have a lot of time down the track in your future when you can spend time with your family, with your friends, because I think at the end of the day, those are the things that matter. Your money comes and goes, your job and your profession comes and goes. Today I could be talking about setting up a business. Tomorrow I could be doing something completely else based on like what's happening in the environment or what's happening in like the business or the economy and things like that. But one thing that does stay constant throughout your life is the people around you and like the family that you have and the friends that you have and things like that.
Have you ever thought about what do I want to give people through my future business?
I think I'm a huge believer of win-win scenarios. I think business is not a zero-sum game. I don't think that one will win and the other person will lose.
Yeah.
So I don't want to create an environment where if I'm winning, my clients are winning as well. Or I'll be happy if my clients win at like 5x and I win at 2x. Because that's the value that I'm providing them. So I haven't thought about anything in particular, but I think ever since I started this job, it has given me exposure to a lot of variety of businesses, and being able to speak with the business owners directly has given me new perspectives on how to approach challenges, how to approach disruptions in the market. So I think this job's a good learning experience to really figure that out as well. I don't have an answer for you just yet, but maybe if you interview me in another year or so, I'll have an answer for that.
Maybe later, after 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years, maybe I'll be starting my own business.
Yeah.
Who knows? But
That's
yeah, I don't have an answer for now. But I think I feel like I'm on the right path, or I'm on the right track.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. One more question. What is strength for you?
That's another good question. You're coming up with really good questions, Anton.
Oh, thanks. I was prepared.
Clearly, you've had some like nights where you're like in the middle of the night, you're sleeping, and you're like, "Oh, that's a great question. I'll write it down."
I need to write it down.
Yeah,
okay.
I need to write it down.
And then you just forgot it. Oh, shit.
I think strength. That's a good question, because I was thinking about this the other day, and I feel like if we take a look at humans as specimens, like it's going a bit more philosophical and a bit more scientific, right? Strength has changed throughout the years, right? So if you're like talking about like the first people, like when we talk about what's the specific word, like the
you mean
the
like
cavemen,
ancient
cavemen
times?
Yeah, ancient times. For example, cavemen, when like humans were developing, strength was literal strength. If you were strong, then you were like the leader of the pack.
Yeah.
You were the person that would be like fighting, I don't know, dinosaurs or animals, or like whatever threat would be present, and everyone would look up to you. But strength over the years has changed significantly.
Yeah.
And in today's day, like a lot of people think strength in the sense of financials, like how much money do you have, what car do you drive, how big is your home, how many square meters is your home. Oh, I've got 3 swimming pools in my home. Is that the strength that most people look for? I think there's a lot of like materialism in our society, especially in like the first world, even second world countries, that define strength as that financial stability or that financial flex that they would have. I know in some communities, strength is also freedom. The same thing, like if they can travel without a worry, they don't need to worry about financials. They don't need to worry about stability. They can just go travel and do whatever they want. Sometimes strength is also considered to be the artistic freedom that they have. If they can express themselves artistically, that's also strength. But I think for us, in our scenarios, in present day, I think strength definitely is the skill sets that you have, and the foundations that you build those skill sets on. And when I say skill sets, it doesn't necessarily have to be skill sets on your work or on your role. But I think skill sets could also be how you manage personal relationships, and how you build your network. How are you with your partner? How are you with your parents? How are you with your family, and things like that? We won't tick all the boxes, right? We won't have a perfect. If you sort of list them out in like a circle, we won't get a perfect circle there. Like it's gonna be zigzag all over the way.
All the time.
But it's kind of like, I think the strength that we really need to identify is what are the skill sets that I'm really good at, and what are the skill sets that I'm really bad at. And I think it's having that awareness in terms of, okay, I'm great at like these 5 skill sets. Let me work on this. Can I combat this with the skill sets that I don't have? And maybe have that as like an offering and something like that to sort of combat that. And if I'm 0% here, can I be 110% here? But in a different perspective, if you're 70% here and you're like, okay, I'm 0% here, I want to get to 20% here in these skill sets. What can I do to work on that to bring my overall skill set up? So I think that's the biggest strength that we can have, because you can think about wealth. Again, wealth will come and go. You know, you might have relationships that come and go. You might have opportunities that come and go. It could all be based off a certain period of time. But if you can focus on these skill sets, that gives you the ability to bounce back from all kinds of adversity. And I think that was like a realization for me when I migrated here. Obviously, back home, you're in this bubble, you're in this couch, in this cushion that your parents created for you. If there was any issues, they could help you out. You had like a support system. But when you come here, you're all by yourself. All of that goes away, which gives you an idea on, okay, what are the things that are important in life? Like, what are the things that I need to do in order to be successful? What are the things that I need to do to be happy in that sense? Because the more wins you get, let's be honest, the happier you get, right? The more L's on the board, the unhappier you get. You have doubts, you have frustration, you have like anxiety and all that kind of stuff. So how can I get those wins on the board? And what do I consider as a win? And then utilizing those skill sets to get those wins. Well, I think that's the biggest strength. But it boils down to the point of self-awareness. How aware are you? And you can do that by asking feedback. And I think the other layer of it is also having a network around you. Will be honest with you. Like, for example, if I come to you and say, hey, Anton, be honest with me. What do you think about this? And like, I'd be like, give me the honest opinion, even if it's the most brutal feedback that is, because I will value that.
And it's really, sometimes, it's really hard to achieve that, because sometimes people think that I don't want to be honest with him, I just want to support him.
Exactly.
But it's not working this way.
Exactly. It's just putting me backwards, right?
Yeah.
If I come to you and say, hey, Anton, be honest with me, like, was I rude to that person over there? And you just want to be nice, you don't want confrontation, you're like, no, you're fine. But then in reality, I could have been really rude to that other person. But it's part of me being self-aware. If you're like brutally honest with me, you're like, hey man, like that was uncalled for, like you shouldn't have said that. I think you should apologize to that person. At first I might be like, whoa, what are you saying? Like, calm down. But then in reflection, after a couple of minutes, I'll be like, he's saying that for a reason. I think I was rude. I should go and apologize to that person or whatever. But yeah, I think, you're correct. You need that honest framework.
I realized, that it was an issue when I first time came here, because people here trying to be very polite with you, and sometimes when even you have a feedback, you can't understand. So is it good feedback, or what exactly should I highlight? So it's absolutely true.
That's true. But I also feel like a lot of people, like you and me, we think similarly, but a lot of people, if they receive like strong feedback, they feel a bit offended. So I think the person who's giving the feedback is conscious of that. But I think we can break that barrier by kind of putting it out there when you first ask for feedback and say that, please be as brutally honest as you can with me. I can take it. And then that gives them the confidence that, okay, this person's not going to be upset with me, or this person's not going to kind of retaliate against me later down the track.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
I hope that after 5 years, we can repeat this interview and you have more information.
Yes, I hope so too, Anton.
Thank you for me.
Thank you.